Thank you for joining me on my masterclass. Now, today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to protect yourselves from any coming financial storms. That's how to protect yourself from any coming financial storm. Well, ever since Thursday, February 24, 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the world has been facing a number of financial storms. Now, a lot of people are not aware of that. They're not aware of that. You see, the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, are banding together to, well, would I say, fight the dollar. They're banding together, they banged up against the US dollar. And, these are guys who they do one quarter of the world's transactions. They do one quarter, just slightly above one quarter of the world's financial transactions. And they have uh, agreed to bandy together to gang up against the US dollar. And that's going to be it's going to be a massive attack on the dollar because the dollar is not a currency that is backed up by gold. President Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard. He did that in the 70s. So right now, the dollar, I mean, the strength of the dollar is just a promise on it. It's not backed up by any gold. Now, when you take that into consideration, and then you take into consideration that ever since the BRIC nations, they gave up that agenda, they came up with that agenda, you've seen that there's been spectacular bank failures in the United States. And I mean, this is bank failures that affecting over $1 trillion. So you have Silicon Valley Bank, you've also had Signature Bank, First Republic Bank, and the Heartland Tri-State Bank. Now, other smaller banks have been affected. You're not going to hear about that in the media. They're going to try to suppress that. But other smaller banks have been affected. Now, what is this leading up to? It's telling us that, look, we cannot just put all our currency, all our hopes, all our money, all our wealth into fiat currency. Now, what's fiat currency? Fiat currency is currency issued by government, based on fiat. It's not backed by any gold. So obviously the dollar, like I told you, which is no longer backed by gold, it's a fiat currency. Most other currencies around the world are fiat currencies. So they're just fiat currencies. A government just issues them by fiat and says, okay, that's money. And basically, it becomes money. And then the value of the currency just depends on the amount of confidence, trust that people have in the promise of the government that is issuing the currency. It's not backed up by any gold. So if anything happens tomorrow, if that country, I mean, loses its credibility, the money will drop. And then if you have your wealth tied up to that currency, you're going to lose your wealth. And it's happening. You're going to lose your wealth. We're seeing devaluation, serious devaluation all over the world. The dollar also suffered from it. It's raising back and then it's gone down again. The British pound suffered from it. It lost about $500 billion was wiped out of the British economy. It's now starting to recover ever since the new prime minister was sworn in. That's Rishi Sunak. And then the previous one, Liz Truss, left. But it hasn't gotten back to the state where it was before. And it's doubtful even if it's going to get back to that state. The same thing has happened with the euro, with the challenges that's facing their biggest economy, Germany. Right now in Germany, there's a lot of alt-right, groups. You have a lot of far-right groups that are coming up in Germany, and it's also affecting their reputation. Their economy is not as robust as it used to be, and this is a challenge. So what are you going to do with all of these things happening all around the world? If you are in Africa, the biggest economy in Africa, Nigeria, they're trying to grow their economy, the naira, and it has had massive effects on the value of the naira. So value of the naira, it's been floated. Market forces are determining the value of the naira. So you really can't say what's going to happen to all of your hard-earned money in the bank if the naira collapses or if the naira appreciates. I mean, you're not in control of those market forces. So what do you do? How do you protect yourself? Same thing with Ghana. Ghana is having an inflation rate of over 42%, about 42.7. If you look at Tanzania and Kenya, they're also having challenges. Right now in Kenya, the Ruto government is having issues fighting the predecessor Kenyatta government. And so that's having ripples in the economy. What are you going to do? How do you protect your wealth? Now, here's what you want to understand. Right now, cryptocurrency is being seen as an alternative to fiat currency. So you want to educate yourself. You don't want to be a financial illiterate. You want to know what NFTs are. You want to know what fungible tokens are. You want to know what the metaverse is. You want to know what smart contracts are. Proof of stake, proof of work. You want to understand what the metaverse, truly what the metaverse is. You want to understand other things concerning cryptos, like ledgers. You want to understand how they have their value, the laws of demand and supply that work in their favor. You want to understand blockchain. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be a financial illiterate in this century. Because a lot of people, more and more people, are going into crypto as an alternative to fiat currency. So we saw that, in the 2019, in the United States, something like about 26% of vendors were accepting cryptocurrency. Right now, it's now risen. It's about 41, 42%. So the crypto is coming out as an alternative to fiat currency. Another alternative to fiat currency is gold. Gold has always been, gold has many advantages. Gold, always retains its value. It's hardly affected by inflation. Gold is eternal. So, it can't be wiped out. It's eternal. And then the thing is that gold is very on demand because almost all modern devices use gold. Your smartphones, they use gold. Televisions, they use gold in them to manufacture them. A lot of people don't know that. And then also, gold it has intrinsic value as jewelry. People are getting married every day. They need gold. And then in the medical world, gold is used in dentistry. So, gold's another alternative to fiat currency. So what I would recommend that people do, I would recommend that people do is that do not just put all of your wealth in fiat currency. Get it out from fiat currency. In fact, as a matter of fact, in the first place, even if there wasn't all of these problems, your wealth shouldn't be in fiat currency. Money should not be in the bank because if you have money in the bank, it's just gradually losing its value due to inflation because banks will never give you an interest rate on your money, a savings interest rate or a current account interest rate that is higher than the rate of inflation. So basically, your money should never sit in banks anyway. But now that I've explained all of these things to you, what should you do with the money? I think that if I was you, I would divide my money into four. And then I'll put a quarter of it, one quarter of it into the stock market. I'll put it in an S&P backed, S&P 500 backed mutual fund. I'll put it in an S&P 500 backed mutual fund. That's what I'll do. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just contact a brokerage firm and then you have them invest a quarter of your wealth. Or you can actually buy stocks yourself using any number of apps. Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, eToro. You can use any of these apps. You can use Plum. You can use any of these apps to buy stock by yourself. If you're in Africa, West Africa, you can use Chaka, you can use Stripe, you can use Bamboo. If you are in East Africa, you can actually use eToro. It works over there. Or you can actually just, I mean, contact the brokerage firm yourself and then also personally, individually, you subscribe to the S&P 500 index or the Wilshire index or the Russell index, and then you ask your stockbroker to mirror the trades that they do. That's another option. And then, so that's one quarter of your wealth, you put that there. So you're protecting it there. And then another one quarter of your wealth, you use it to buy gold. Now, gold, you can buy gold yourself directly, or you can buy a gold ETF. A gold ETF is just the same thing as buying gold, only that somebody else keeps the gold for you, their vaults, and then you have a certificate that this is how much gold that you have. So that's the obvious advantage of a gold ETF. So you can do that. And then you put another quarter of your wealth maybe in crypto. And then not just any crypto, you index crypto. If you don't know how to index crypto, you watch my video on indexing crypto. And then you put a quarter of your wealth in crypto. And then the remaining, the balance of your wealth, then you can actually spread it into three areas: real estate investment trust, treasury bonds, and then also you can put them just like maybe a little in something like how would I call it now? Some people call it, in some countries it's called fixed deposit. In some countries it's called a certificate of deposit. So you put that. I would recommend that if you live in the United States, you use Goldman Sachs because they offer right now an interest rate of about 4.5%, which is the highest interest rate of any viable bank. That's what I would tell you to do. So if you do that, at least you've spread your money, you've protected your money, you're hedging your risk. That's what I would do to protect myself from becoming financial starved because really nobody knows what's going to happen. We were told that the war in Russia was going to be over very soon. Look, this is a year and a half later. It doesn't seem anywhere over. Russia is talking about the counter-offensive. Ukraine is also talking about the counter-offensive. The world's grain supplies, are affected. We just saw that Russia was hosting African leaders promising to give them grains, and you see, like a lot of challenges are right now in this world. We do not know what tomorrow is going to bring. So the best way to protect yourself is the way that I just described. Divide your money into four and then put them in these areas that I told you about. Now, if you watch this video, you got questions arising from this video, that's okay. Put them in the comment section of this video. My staff are going to bring them to me, and I'll do my best to respond to each and every category. Now, this is Apostle of Prosperity, and I'm Thank you for watching, and may God bless.
Reno travels all around the world. I hope you get inspired about what you see. Apostle of greatness, Reno is a master. Only one man against the whole world in large. Fighting with the monsters, poverty I can't stand. That's why Reno is